just wanted to give a reflection this morning, just to give an update about Gia yesterday, just so people know. And we got the opportunity to, as many people know, we've been friends with Damon for a few years, and his wife Gia, she's 43 years old, and been struggling with cancer for the last 7 years, and it's been a very long, difficult journey. And over the winter retreat, Ajahn and myself and Debbie would go and see her, and so it's been kind of the degeneration has been ramping up over the past few months, to the point now where she's stopped treatment and gone into home hospice care. So Ajahn Sake, myself, Tantisaro, Samanera Chittapalo, and Agarka Nick got the opportunity to see her in her current state, and she looks like really she could pass away any minute. And I haven't heard any news yet, but I'd be surprised if she was able to live much longer. So just a couple of reflections around that. One is for myself, my own experience walking into this room with her parents were there, her brother, close friends from her life, and there was maybe 10 or 11 of us just gathered around her bed. And for me, everything else just kind of falls away when faced with death like this, and it's just, that's really all that matters. And we might do the death contemplation as an intellectual exercise, and we might kind of intellectually know that we die, but in terms of a visceral truth or a primal truth, then it really hits you when you're faced with the reality of it. And for me, any of the projects or work that's happening here just completely fell away, or the sense that like, even that we're going back to the monastery and it's just completely in the present. It's like, okay, we're there for her in this moment. And that's very good for practice. That's a really important thing to be cultivating, to be able to come back to what's important. Not to say we don't do work, or we don't do plans, or we don't look after things, but just to keep that in mind, that that's what's ultimately important. That's ultimately what we're all preparing for, but with the practice, provisions for the journey. That's what we're trying to build up with our practice. Because we don't know when it's going to happen. It could be a gradual death like Gia, or it could be something very sudden, an accident or something like that. So just to remember what this is what our practice is for. Anytime we get swept up in thinking about the future, or trying to imagine ourselves in some sort of future state, just coming back to that death contemplation, I was not sure that I can actually count on being in some sort of state in the future. You just can't count on it. It's totally uncertain. Another thing that was quite powerful, quite palpable, was when we last saw her a few weeks ago. She was in ICU, and she physically looked similar to what she looked like yesterday. Very thin, emaciated, skeletal. However, before it was kind of like she didn't quite have that sense that death was imminent, and there was definitely a shift, like a very tangible shift, walking into this room yesterday, where she was definitely looking towards death. Like, I think it was something about the eyes, like the eyes aren't looking out anymore. They've come in completely, and she's not at all looking towards life anymore. And that was quite powerful as well. So she could barely speak. We did some very short parita chanting. I just did 3 chants, and she had her hands in Anjali and was still conscious and was able to say beautiful at the end of it, and but very, very weak, and it was also quite powerful because of having parents and her brother there, and I think everybody in the room was quietly crying just because of seeing her in that state and just the heaviness of the situation. And it was quite a powerful, quite an emotional, quite an important and quite a special time. And this is the Dhamma in our face. We also just welcomed back Tantisro and Ajahn Sek from visiting Tantisro's family in Alabama, and they've had many inspiring stories, which I'm sure they'll pass on to people over the coming days, about their alms rounds there, and this is the true, I feel like this is the spreading of the Dhamma. This is really important as well. So just wanted to mention those 2 things as passing on to the community as a morning reflection. I'll leave it there this morning.